Those guys are a hard-working group of pair, and I really think that those guys are, leading in the right way. And we have a lot of other leaders on defense, but excited about for Osa and Dono. Kenny Clark, adding him in the trade, super excited about that. He's a real stout in the run game, and obviously, really good pass rusher as well inside. Gives you some push in there to solidify our inside there. We really don't have a comment about Diggs right now in terms of his play time and all that. We're still working through all those things, with him. But he's looked good so far. We'll see where that is. And then, congratulations also to Micah. He had the trade, and he's now on a different squad, and we wish him the best. So that's where it is. And excited about the week for Philly. Know these guys really well. Work with the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo. Very good football mind. And obviously Nick Sirianni, we were coordinators together there in Indianapolis. But good guys, really good coaches, and excited to go against them. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. How do you replace Parsons' production?
Yeah, it's we're going to focus on us and focus on how we do that. Obviously, a really good player, and we have a lot of good rushers, in that room, in the D-line room, and certainly we'll generate it with that and other things too.
What does Clark bring to your team?
First of all, he's a true pro. He's a worker, and he's been a leader. He's been a leader over there in Green Bay, and he's going to be a leader here too, and you can see that right away. Knows ball. Really intelligent, and excited to work with him. He works great on the practice field, and he's a tremendous guy.
I'm Todd Archer with ESPN. With Micah, because he wasn't on the practice field and doing stuff, did that allow you to obviously get more reps with the guys that you have had? And is there anything that you had in the system for Micah that you now can push on to other guys?
Yeah, of course we're going to try to scheme that, but we never really had a chance to during the camp. But again, we're going to work with the guys, that we have. To answer your other question, we didn't have time on task, and that was a good thing for the other guys. They got a chance to work and work their four-man rush and then work our blitz package, and so the guys are doing a nice job.
John Machota with The Athletic. Your time in Chicago, obviously going against a guy like Kenny Clark. What stood out to you then? Yeah,
just the energy and passion that he plays with. We got a chance to watch a lot of crossover games, so I got a chance to evaluate their personnel as I was doing that. And just what I said before, just a true pro.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. Obviously, you want to get home with 4 if possible, but you're trying to figure out, do I have to send more than that? In terms of trying to figure that out going into week 1, how much do you kind of project that, and how much is that reading on the fly once you get into actual gameplay?
Yeah, I think it depends on the scheme you're playing. It really does. If it's, a certain scheme that you can predict certain things, you want to be able to send certain players, to get home. And that's every week, so that's where we are.
And then Reddy Stewart's a guy that obviously you brought in, you had familiarity with. You've been trying to figure out, the nickel all offseason long. It's been kind of a thing. How does he kind of play into it, and how much does his familiarity with you kind of play into giving him a earlier run, I guess?
Yeah, that's why we wanted to get him. First of all, because he knows the scheme, and he's a kind of plug and play right away, as a backup or rotational player. We're still figuring that out, but we understand that he knows the scheme and he knows how we play. And he plays with great passion, energy, and he has a really good knack for taking the ball away.
Babe?
Babe Loffberg, 105.3 The Fan, Cowboys Network.
Hey, Babe, how you doing?
I'm
good?
Great.
All right.
Good. As this whole Micah saga was unfolded, at what point did you have to say, okay, we may not have him, let's figure out what we're going to do? Because he's, many times, obviously, guy gets hurt, you just plug in the next guy. He's so unique that, and what other teams and how they were going to approach him, that it's not the same. So at what point did you flip the switch?
I'm not going to get into timelines with that, but really it was forced upon us, because of the whole talks back and forth with the contract. He was unavailable, and all those things. So it's important that, we went forward with the guys that we had, with Tay and, and Sam and all the guys that we have in there. And they did a great job. They worked their butts off in training camp.
And obviously guys get hurt, you lose a guy, you go on. And you're in Chicago, obviously, with a situation where, I don't know if he was your best defensive player. I'll let you talk about that. But Roquan Smith gets traded during the season, and all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, those are the situations that the clubs make, for the best interest of that club, and that's the same situation here. And then you just really have to focus on who you're coaching on the field.
Patrick?
Hey, Coach. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Circling back to Kenny Clark, he's been practicing with Green Bay prior to the trade. He's fully healthy, and in his words, he could play 20, 30, 50 plays for you guys on Thursday if need be. What's the expectation as far as managing his ramp up, and could he be fully unleashed against the Eagles on Thursday?
Yeah, first of all, he's very smart. It's for him to pick up scheme, our scheme, very similar schemes, and I don't think it'll be a problem. We're going to evaluate that as we go through the week with each guy in terms of rep count and all those things, and we'll decide that on Friday or what we call Friday. Yeah.
Fair. Quick follow-up for that. What does the addition of Kenny Clark do for a guy like Mozzie Smith, who's still kind of working his way through the weeds?
Yeah, I think it's good for the whole room, because we added a veteran presence in there. We already had a big veteran presence in there with Solly and those types of guys, and Tay. And I think it's important that Osa. It's important that he just adds to that. He really does.
Tommy Arsh, DallasCowboys.com. Matt, how do Osa and Kenny complement each other? I know you're still kind of in the early processes of being together, but what do you feel like they can do when they're on the field next to each other?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I really am. Because they both can play on first, and second down, but also play on the rush downs. So you really get a good push in the middle there, and it's going to be exciting to watch those guys go.
Kelly. How do you tell your guys, your pass rushers, don't try to do too much because we don't have Micah, and just do what you normally do? Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I would say that just focus on your technique and focus on the plan, and that's what the guys are doing. We're putting our third down game plan in right now, and the guys will focus on that. Again, focusing on first and second down as well, and we got to be where our feet are, and that's what those guys are going to do.
Todd.
Run defense obviously has been a big question around here for a while, but do you wish the first game wasn't against Saquon?
Yeah, what an outstanding player, and the explosive runs, historic, last year with him, and it's going to be important that everybody plays well in the run game, not just the front seven. The secondary has to do a great job of keeping the cup, and he's an explosive athlete and a generational guy.
That background you mentioned with the OC and with Sirianni, do you go back and think of your time together? Like, okay, when he was doing this, we were doing that in practice. Do you play those games, or is that so long ago it doesn't factor in anymore?
Yeah, I would say the latter. It's so long ago that the schemes have changed. We've adjusted, they've adjusted, and you got to go with what you see on tape and what you think their next move is going to be.
Patrick. Back to Kenny and Osa, that combination. From a coaching standpoint, how beneficial is it knowing that, obviously Kenny's being dropped in less than a week before week one, but he has a long-standing personal relationship with Osa, UCLA days, having played with his brother Ola. How beneficial is that as far as chemistry ramping up quickly? Yeah,
the chemistry's there. Like I said, he's a great person and a great pro, and the guys respect him just from his play alone, and then when they get to meet him, respect him even more. And you guys see that too.
Clarence.
Just from a scheme standpoint, I'm sorry I'm late, but Kenny, and I know he'll be better later than he will be week one, just from comfortability in the scheme, but just talk about how comfortable he can be in the scheme in the rest of the league.
I referred to it earlier. I would say just because of the scheme is very similar, from what he's coming from, I think it won't be an issue at all.
Brad.
Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio 105.3 The Fan.
Way back in the back, Brad.
Way back in the back, so I can monitor you on my magic little recording device. Should Diggs not be ready to play, do you have a decision to make between Stewart and Childress for this game? And if you do, one of them has not been around here but knows your system, one of them doesn't as well but has been around these guys. How do you weigh those factors?
Yeah, you're not going to like the answer because we're just working through that right now. You know, we really are. So we're going to figure that out, and we'll decide on here in the next couple of days.
Babe Lovemer, you're not going to like this question, Bruce, but
I can answer how I want. Yeah.
you look at the Super Bowl, Kansas City shut down Saquon, did the best job on him all year. They gave up, obviously, big plays in the passing game.
Yeah.
So when you have a team, you know, the tight end is obviously a factor as well in this deal. As a coordinator and game planning against a team that can throw it outside, throw to the tight end, obviously run it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing a good offense, you know that they can stress you, you know, in the run game, horizontally and vertically in the pass game. You know, so we got to do a great job of, you know, 11 guys being on the same page, 11 guys doing their job, and playing with the right tempo and the right attitude, and that's what we're focused on.
I know coaches always talk about making a team one-dimensional. Which dimension do you want to take away?
Yeah, I mean, I think you pick your moments. You pick your moments, and you do a good job with your scheme, and it really comes down to execution.
Scott, one more. Yep. Sorry. You were obviously in another division, so these guys were seeing the tush push twice a year. So, how much can you prepare for that? How do you think about those? You know, how do you defend that in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, you can see various teams do different things to it, and some teams were successful, and you know, it's all about, you know, it's an attitude type of thing, and you got to do a great job of executing the way we want to execute on that play, and you know, we'll see if we got a good plan.
Is it hard to replicate that in practice?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not something you're going to see or have the guys do a bunch, you know, full speed, but you know, we definitely will rep it and work it and be ready for it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.